Tramon Mark doesn't play, not sure it would have made a difference, but it definitely doesn't help you. As the Arkansas Razorbacks fall to the Ole Miss Rebels by a score of 77-51, and it was every bit that bad. As Arkansas continues the spiral. I mean, in a lot of ways, I mean, this game started out as bad as you can start a game. I mean, you want to talk about a game where
Sorry, my I had to turn my fan off and my
your
little
light,
heater
your light,
and
your light went nuts.
messed. Well, my camera got all funked up.
Um, yeah, I mean, could you look worse from the jump in a game?
I mean, honestly, like this is going to be. It looks like this is going to be, the season that you don't think about when you're, starting the first 2 years of. Is this the second year we did this?
This is the third year.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but you think with Musselman and you're having these good times, like you think it's gonna be up and down, and but it'll be more good times than bad. And you don't think about the season where like this is gonna get boring fast because I mean, unless something changes, but like just a bad team. We're just, you always go in when you're a good team and you're like, oh man, you play in Vanderbilt or Missouri or whoever is bad at that time, and you go in there and you look at their record and you're like, oh man, they haven't won a conference game yet or whatever. And you're like, that sucks to be that first. It's like that's us this year. We're just not good, and we're just going to be a punching bag. I mean, that really sucks because you don't expect to go from Sweet 16 to punching bag that fast. There's usually it's and I guess maybe I mean we're not that bad. We have won a conference game and we have a couple of good wins on under the belt. So obviously these guys are capable of playing well, I think. But it looks like, you know, every game is very, very similar, which is it's and tell me if you disagree, it's like 80% bad, punctuated with brief moments of sometimes it's the whole team, sometimes it's two or three guys like getting a little bit of mojo and playing hard for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 3 minutes there. But like it never accumulates into the whole team playing well for long enough to uh you know become anything productive, with the exception of the one game where they managed to keep it going for you know 14 minutes and they got a 20-point lead out of it and then barely were able to squeeze that into a victory. I mean, they needed literally Trevon Mark to hit a last second buzzer beater to just win a game that they had a 20-point lead. And like it's because when they play the way that they play the majority of the time, it's not that well, I mean, sometimes they look really bad, but it's just even when they're just playing like the standard level of play, it's two steps back, one step forward. You know what I mean? Like it's always Brazil gets a dunk, you turn the ball over twice and they get two layups and an and one. You know what I mean? It's like you hit a three, they go down, match the three, steal the inbound play, get somebody in foul trouble. It's like it's always you watch it and it's like it's a 3-point lead. 5 minutes later, it's a 7-point lead. Five
Yeah.
minutes later, that's a 12-point lead. It's just a slow, like we just are not playing as well as the teams we're playing against. I mean, which sounds like the most simple, you know, uh analyzation ever, but that's just what it is. Like, this is going to be a boring season if they keep playing like this. And I mean, subsequently, it's going to make for a boring podcast. But I mean, did you see the only thing I would say positive that I saw is there were brief moments where a couple of guys looked like they played harder. It's funny because it's not even well. I mean, I'm thinking of Battle. Battle in this game, I thought, to his credit, played harder than I've seen him play yet on defense. He played some good defense at times. Like he really stayed in front of some guys, managed not to foul them. Now, some of that is, the refs, because they
Yeah.
probably, I mean, but that's the case always. Like they can always almost call a foul on every play if you want to call touch fouls. But Battle managed to stay in front of some guys, play some tough defense, and not pick up a bunch of stupid fouls. But he couldn't get his game going on offense, really. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he did a little bit. Like uh he couldn't put both sides of it together. But I did like his his attitude seemed better. It
Yeah.
almost felt like, well, this season's kind of junk, so maybe let's just see if we can just have fun and play hard. But I don't know. What'd you think?
Um, I mean, I think a lot of it comes back to the thing that we had said kind of when the slide was happening when they started losing games, like, and you knew this was going to be the case in SEC play if it didn't get fixed. But I said then that I think that this is a hard thing to fix because I don't think that you can just like make somebody like this if they're not already like that, especially at this point in someone's career. But like I mean, we're not nearly physical enough. Like this roster is not physical enough to compete in the SEC. It's just not. Where I mean, we lose the rebounding battle. We got destroyed on the boards this game. We lose the rebounding battle
We
every game.
actually, I think we had. I mean, it wasn't bad until, well, when the brief moment where these guys got a little bit of mojo. I mean, it was literally like a 5 minute spurt late in
Yeah,
the first half when they took it from like whatever it was, a 15-point lead down to a 6-point lead.
yeah,
That's when they had the most going on. That point, and like I said, all these things are always tied together. But um, I think we had a one rebound advantage
yeah.
at that point, and then you lose by
Well,
25, and it's because I bet the second half. I mean, I don't know. Look, I haven't looked at the stats. If you look at it,
we
what's
got
the
out.
breakdown of the first versus the second half in rebounds?
I don't know, but I know that it was pretty even the first half. We ended up getting out rebounded 28-43, which is bad.
Which means we got murdered in the second half. And like,
Yes.
why? I mean, other than Chris Beard screaming at his guys, why aren't you rebounding better? Which I'm sure Musselman has been doing all season.
Yeah.
I mean, it just goes to show me like that. I mean, some of rebounding is coincident.
Because I think that you can be something you're not for like brief moments of time. I mean, you can you can have. I mean, everyone that plays basketball knows this. Like, there's some days or so, like maybe like for a couple moments you can do something that you don't usually do, but it doesn't mean that you like are that player now, right? And or that team now. So uh you might not be like a great shooter, but you might hit three threes in a row. You didn't become a great. That's not who you are now. Like that you just
Mhm.
yeah. So like I think that you can have a team if you can get them up for even a half, and like they're gonna really fight. But there's something different about like that being the kind of player and the kind of team that you are. That's not the same thing as being able to like muster up and force yourself to do something that it doesn't come natural to you for X amount of time. And I just think that's what it is. I just think that I think that physicality and like that sort of like that grit and that kind of stuff, you might be able to fake some of that for for parts of games and that kind of stuff. But like that doesn't mean that that's the kind of player you are now, or because like the guys that really do that stuff, they don't know how to do anything else but that. That's just how they are. And
Yeah.
we don't have that. And so like the physicality is tough. Our decision making is really poor on the offensive end. We pick up our dribble in like the worst spots and then make really bad decisions. I kind of feel like this team is like full of pieces that would be like really good pieces if they were surrounded by different things. Like is there
Mhm.
like it's not to say that like all these guys all suck and that kind of stuff. Is no, no. Like any one of these players. I mean, what do you think? Battle can't be like a great piece on a team if he was surrounded by guys that are doing all the other things that he's not naturally. Of course, like he's just be a guy that can just fill it up from the outside. Yeah. Um, if Brazil is surrounded by other guys that can take care of physicality and stuff, can he be like a stretch four? Of course. But we just don't like this. Sometimes it's not about like, do you have good players and bad players? Like, it's not about that. It's about, is the roster constructed in such a way that it can win? And this one isn't. And that's not even like an indictment on Musk, because like a lot of times some of that stuff is like a little bit inexplicable. You sometimes you don't know until you get it out there, and I just don't think these pieces work. They're missing too much stuff. You have too many pieces that are the same. Honestly, like a lot of these pieces are the same pieces or very similar pieces, and they don't have he can't find what he's missing within the construct of this roster. And
Yeah, I
if
mean, it's definitely a bad sign that like the fact that it's a different starting lineup every time. And I mean, I'm not talking about Mark because I mean, he was out with a headache, I guess. But and I'm not saying that in a disparaging. I'm just saying like I might have a headache if I keep going out there and scoring 30 and losing. Like I
apparently
might
Musk said he didn't practice on Monday or Tuesday either. I guess he's had like a migraine for like four
no,
days or something
you
crazy.
know, right. I do too. So everybody that's watching the Hogs has that migraine. But I mean, I'm not saying I'm sure that's legit. I'm just saying the fact that he started was his name the other big guy. Well, just I mean the two big guys that he started.
Harris.
That's
Yeah.
the first time I think both those guys have started side by side, and it's just I'm sure it had to do with if you asked him, I'm sure he was like, well, Harris like really tried hard in practice. You know what I mean? It's like this is not good for a good it's not good for your franchise if basically the starting lineup is up for grabs for whoever hustles in practice that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just shows a level of discombobulation and lack of trust, lack of, any of those guys being consistent. And yeah, I mean, I would like someone to go through and look at how many different lineups they've had. I guarantee you, this team is creating a lot of bad firsts.
Yeah.
And I mean, like last night, they said that's the most Old Miss has beat us by in either arena in like 57 years or something like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
dude, that means basically that's the worst they've ever beaten you in
Yep.
modern basketball. Because I don't know if you know
Yeah.
this, but like 50 years ago, there was no 3-point line. The rim was bolted to a piece of plywood. You know what I mean? Like with no springs. It was a completely different game. They were dribbling on top of the ball out in front of them. Like basically, that's the worst Ole Miss has ever beaten Arkansas in since we've been playing real basketball,
Dude, do you
modern
want you
basketball.
you want to know a crazy stat? What if I told you that um Harris, so these are your forwards. So Harris plays 13 minutes. Lawson plays 6 minutes. Bayfall plays 6 minutes. Mitchell plays 12 minutes. Graham plays 13 minutes. What if I told you that none of those guys had a defensive rebound? Not an offensive rebound. None of those guys had a defensive rebound.
That's wild. Like you should
Like
accidentally.
how?
Sometimes you turn around and the ball bounces in your hands. You know what I mean?
I mean, the only forward on the whole team that had any defensive rebounds was Brazil. Brazil had 3 defensive rebounds. Played 12 minutes, had 3 rebounds.
And even
No,
that, dude,
no
like,
other,
like
no other forward, dude. No other forward had a defensive rebound. That's insane to me. Like how?
I don't know how those guys did. I mean, I'm realizing. I realized it last night when I played some kids asked me to play pickup, and I probably shouldn't have because I was trying to work out. And I was like, if you guys want to play 3-on-3, I will. And got into it a little bit with a guy. He's like, dude, this isn't football, but I'm too much of a physical like if you start talking crap or
Yeah.
being cocky, there's gonna be some hip checks. I'm gonna hit the ball, but I'm probably gonna hit your arm too. You know what I mean? And I don't like that about myself, but Arkansas needs some of that badly right now. Like I need to get zen before I go play basketball. Like what difference does it make? It's, I mean, you're playing 3-on-3 rec center. Who cares? Don't get don't get an attitude. These people are nice people, and like you're just going to make enemies unnecessarily. But for Arkansas, like Brazil should be embarrassed with 3 rebounds because I know that if
Well, he
you
did only
took
he only did play like 12 minutes, but yeah,
and that's true. I mean, but I mean, what's his average? Like,
yeah, it's not.
if you took his body and put Dennis Rodman's, you know, tenacity and abilities, like he would have he should be averaging
If
like
you put
7 rebounds, and he should have a couple of games where it's like, holy crap, Brazil's got 4 blocks, 12 points, and 17 rebounds.
yeah,
Like he should have an A game like that. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could take Leighton Blocker's brain or or mentality, not brain, but mentality. You give Leighton Blocker his body, and I think you're going to get some of that, right? Like, but the
Hmm.
guys that have that aren't the guys that are down there playing in the. I mean, that stat to me is. I mean, that is the only stat you need to know like what I'm talking about, which is like, yeah, dude, you guys just aren't like you don't have a guy or guys the only explanation for all your forwards to go without a defensive rebound is that you guys aren't physical enough. It's the only reason because rebounding just want to.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's I
It wasn't like Ole Miss shot 75% from the field or something. It wasn't like there weren't any. Shot 47%. There's like over half their shots came off. Like what the heck?
well, and it appears to me, and honestly, I mean, we're being really hard on these guys, but like they do need to. Their lack of pride surprises me. I mean, and maybe this is the problem with the transfer portal that when guys move around so much, they don't have like it's maybe an indication if a player's willing to bounce around and maybe not it might be an indication that they are playing for themselves, not for a team. But it is definitely, even if it's not that, it's definitely the difference between a player who gets recruited as a freshman to a school and he's like wants to go to that school, and then he wants to wear that uniform and he wants to play for them, and then play for that coach, and then he goes out there and plays for, even if he's great and he doesn't graduate there, if he plays 3 years or 2 years, there is a difference between that and let me open up this menu. I had a good season with this team that I'm on. My numbers look good. So now I'm getting pursued by all these teams. Let me open up this menu. Now, should it be Texas, Arkansas, Auburn, Nebraska? I guess I like what Musselman's doing. It does make you think that you could easily end up with a group of guys that they don't have any pride in the school, in the
Yeah.
team, you know what I mean, in the fan base. And because I think, like I said, all of these things are linked together in a chain. And it's mostly that, in my opinion, these guys won't sacrifice the energy in the moments when there's no glamour, there's nothing to be gained, or there's a 90% chance that there's nothing to be gained, but there's a very small fraction of a chance that you might gain an advantage by putting forth this effort. And you do that throughout the game 1,000 times. And the 1 or 2 times that it works out for you is the same for everybody. And that ends up accumulating into what I'm talking about is you'll see guys get screened and just stop.
Yeah.
And they're like they get screened and the ball goes there and the other guy switches and like, oh, thank God. I mean, it looks like they're like, oh, thank God. Like now it's his problem. You know what I mean? And then you see them just kind of like stand chest to chest with the guy and kind of follow him. And then like, okay, I'm guarding this guy now.
Dude,
And
there was one dude where it came off a screen. You probably remember this play and went right down the pipe and just dunked it. When I saw two guys like watch him do it, just watch him do it. Like I mean,
mhm.
like they're like on the blocks, like on the outside of the lane, and just watch. Like I'm putting you at the line, dude. There's no chance. There's just no chance. I'm gonna let you do
Dude,
that.
you saw Sunday night, I got laid up in my face 3 times by the same guy. And I fouled him all 3 times and he made it. And it's like, but I'm still going to get my nose in there. And the
Yeah.
guy's better than me, younger than me, faster than me, has a step on me. I'm still going to try to stop you from scoring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't, yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. And I'm playing pickup ball that actually doesn't matter. And like someone could legitimately look at you and go, hey, dude, we got to go to work in the morning. Like, what are you doing? You guys are playing college ball for like a lot of these guys are trying to make a career out of this. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And sometimes there was one time where they and it's probably because the coach and everyone has yelled at them about getting back, but there was one time where we shot the ball and I think one of our guys was down low and they got the rebound, of course, because there was like three of them down there. And then we turn around and all of our guys were already past half court. And I was like, guys, see, this is what I'm talking about. You have to be willing to do both. I'm asking you to crash the glass and get back. Yes, I am asking you to do both of those things. You know how because I know that by the way, that's going to make your legs very sore because you have to juke the guy that's in front of you trying to block you out, spin around, run in. The rebound's not where you went. So it's someone else has got it. Now they're shooting down the court. Now you are in a worse position and you have to, the second you realize you're not getting the ball, it's going to the other side. Now you are dead sprinting like your life depends on it down the other end. Not, oh, we need to get back. Okay, looks like he's going to shoot it. I'm going to start backpedaling right now so that I'm at half court when the other team gets the rebound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
they won't do both. Yeah, I know. You're probably not going to get the rebound and it's going to wear you out. You're 21 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this isn't even a back-to-back tournament. Have days of rest. Get your butt down there, try to rebound, and run the floor as hard as you can, and play defense as hard as you can. There's just not enough. It's like they don't even realize that there's another gear you can play at.
No, that's what it
A
is.
lot of
Like that's what I mean by like, I don't. The thing that's missing, I don't think you can like make someone that player at this point. Not at this point. Dude, by the time you're like in college ball, like you can't like make someone that person. You can become a better shooter. You can become a better, ball handler. You probably improve in all kinds of ways. I mean, certainly you can like, if you suck at free throws, you can get better at that. If we've seen guys improve their 3-point shot, so you can do all that, but you can't like, change who you are, at that point. And that's what I think it is. So that's why I think we are what we are. And that's a real bummer. And also like you start to realize, well, I think it was one of the commentators was saying, and I hadn't thought about this, but he was talking about like the guys that Musselman has had in the past, and he was going through, he's like, whether it's Daniel Gafford, Isaiah Joe, Mason Jones, JT Note, Jalen Williams, and then you go to the other guys, Moses Moody, Anthony Black, Jordan Walsh, like all even Nick Smith. And he's like, all those dudes have played minutes in the NBA. Like we don't have those dudes. Like there ain't none of
yeah,
like you like maybe Mark. Like maybe Mark is like a little bit built like that. But all those guys I just rattled off, these dudes ain't built like that, dude.
yeah. I mean, obviously Brazil has an NBA body, and possibly
And I don't just mean like skills. I mean like those guys were different than these guys.
yeah, I agree with you. The thing that I mean, it might have been the time they were talking about, but I do agree. Like, I don't know how Brazil isn't more. He doesn't seem as upset and affected. Now, maybe he is, maybe, but the thing is, I don't know. Like, he seems like a relatively not emotional, but like he gets into it with some guys and stuff sometimes when he, or at least has the tendency to be petty at times. I don't understand. Like, this is hurting his career prospects. And the thing is, it's not like, well, they've got this one player and yeah, he's getting triple teamed every time. He's not even getting like it's not like teams are focusing on him because
Yeah.
why would they? He's averaging like 4 points a game or something like that. I don't understand why he's not more aggressive and trying to
Yeah, bro. Like
attack the basket, get
you're like,
rebounds.
yeah, dude, your future's on the line here.
That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
even if you're like being even if you are being selfish and you're like, all right, well, screw this team. Coach didn't put together a good team. This sucks. Well, I'm looking out for myself. Why are you only taking a half a dozen shots a game?
yeah. No, no, he's definitely not. I mean, one thing you can't say about Brazil is that he's out there like in it for himself. I mean,
He's turning down shots for
no,
worse shots.
my guy played 12 minutes last night because he got hurt or his knee was bothering him or something. Um, he was 3 of 4 from the free throw line, so he got fouled twice. Uh, do you know how many shots he took? One, one shot. Like, come on, man. Like that's wild to me. But I just
There
mean
was
like
one.
like that list of guys, that list of 12 dudes or whatever that I just rattled off though, too. And I would put other guys in that too. Like if I start talking about Justin Smith and Jimmy Witt and whatever. Um, I mean, dude, you'd be like killing for like a Harris right now, whatever. But you're like those dudes are not these dudes. They don't have that like that thing. Like there was like a competitive edge that those kind of guys had. Even guys, dude, like even dudes you didn't see a lot of. Even dudes like Nick Smith Jr., who like played like in what like 12 games total because he was all he's like and probably it was not like he wasn't an elite defender or whatever. Look at what he wait. He's like 6'4" and 130 pounds or whatever he is. But dude, he had like a little something, right? Like you could tell like it mattered. Like he had a competitive edge to him. And then you had guys where it was just like on big time display. Like, dude, give me like Jordan Walsh, those dudes. Even like Moses Moody, all those guys. Dude, Isaiah Joe. If you're just talking about like, well, maybe they don't have the bodies. Isaiah Joe didn't have. There's nothing special about Isaiah Joe's body, but he was a competitor, man.
I
Remember how
mean,
many
he
steals
had a
he
good
would get?
college, but I know what you mean. Like he wasn't like he was skinny.
Yeah,
He's
yeah. You weren't like, oh, that's a guy that's super physical. Except for Isaiah Joe took tons of charges and like led the team in steals and stuff. Like he competed, right?
I'm telling you, dude, watch these guys when they get picked off on a screen or when they're standing. Like now, part of the reason they don't rebound well is because they don't defend well, and those two things are connected because they're constantly out of position.
Yeah.
All the guys that
Hey,
you would want to be down them.
this team still can't stay in front of the ball to save their life.
No, and so like somebody like Brazil, half the time when he should be down low boxing out, he's diving out at a 3-pointer on a switch. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So those things are connected. But I mean, some of it's him too. Like, it's not like I mean, sometimes he's guarding somebody at the 3-point line. The guy just walks by him and makes a layup. I don't understand it. But um, if you watch these guys, they do that. Even again, back to what I'm just saying, it's like once they get in the rotation moving and they're like facing guys and playing help defense, it's when the ball does finally go up, and this happens all the time. If they ever get a team stay in front of the ball for 20 seconds and the shot clock ticks down, they're so out of position. But then when the ball goes up, if it seems like if they're like out of position, they're like, well, I would rebound, but I'm guarding somebody else and I'm out of position. Nobody crashes from more than like unless you're 12 feet in. But if
Yeah.
I'm like happen to have find myself 17 feet from the basket and the shot goes up, I just look up and kind of start to backpedal to see if one of those guys are going to get it. And it's like, you've got to do both. You have to dive out at the shooter and then turn around and look to see if you can crash for the board. You know what I mean? Um, but anyway, I mean, we'll probably beat Kentucky
Probably.
because of just to make it inexplicable. No, I mean, we probably won't beat Kentucky. I mean, I could have used for them not to lose because, like, what are the chances they're going to lose back to back games?
Yeah, I don't know
I
who we're
bet you can get some cheap tickets to that game.
I don't know who we're beating, dude. Um, Unfortunately, like it's not getting better; it's getting worse. I think these guys have like, and I get it. Like this is how this usually goes. You either when when you're in the bad spot, dude. When a team is like starting to slide, one of two things happens. You either figure it out, some guys get together. Like I was saying, you either get a team meeting and you find 6 guys that are willing to do all the stuff and you start to put it together, or that thing just snowballs and it looks like that's what's happening. Is that you're like, man,
Yeah, because
it's
their
it
body
looks really
language
good.
and stuff still doesn't look great. You know what I mean? I do think, I mean, basically, I mean, this season's trash. There's if you want to have hope, you want to be if you're foolish enough to hope, you know, sometimes things get so bad and then, it's almost like hostages. These guys are like, well, they get angry, they get depressed, they get bummed out, and then you might get to that place finally where it's like, well, it doesn't matter. We are all in this traumatizing bummer of a situation together. So maybe that can actually draw us closer. And then, because I mean, I remember this happening with like, I think Georgia one year where they were just bad, dude. And I can't even remember what their record was, but it was way upside down. And then they went and won the SEC tournament.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah,
just because they just started to play like, who gives a crap? And found like some kind of connection between the fact that they were like the worst team, you know what I mean, or one of the worst teams, and you can bond over that kind of frustrating, traumatizing situation. And maybe if you want to, I mean, that's basically the only hope now is that they come together, find something, and then make it. Literally, they would have to win the SEC tournament or something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
As I mean, dude, 1-5
yeah,
now.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah, dude.
I mean, especially because like the SEC, I mean, we've said, but like it's there's so many good teams, and even though they may give us 8, there's like I mean 4 teams. I mean, Alabama has well, they have 1 loss. There's so many teams that have like 4 to 5 wins in the SEC already, and we're so far away. It's hard to imagine how we could crawl back, even if these guys started to play like they did against Purdue. It's
Well,
just
dude, it'd
hard to
be it'd
imagine.
be different if you were coming away from this being like, look, man, if we could just fix this, like we're right. Like it's one thing if you like are losing games, you're like, man, it's right there. Like we just need a little bit more, whatever. If we could shoot the ball a little better from three, or if we could, whatever it is. But it's not like that. It is not like that at all, dude. Like I mean, like you listen to Muss, and he knows it's not like that. It's like we have to get better at everything.
It is confusing though. I need to almost go because it's so confusing. I almost need to go back and watch the Purdue game and the Duke game because as far as I can remember in the Purdue game, and like I said, Purdue, it's not like Purdue is falling on their face. Maybe they weren't the number one team in the country, but they're still a very good team. They have very good point guards and obviously an NBA big man. But I wonder, did they just not expect us to play hard? And did they come? Because in my memory, that was a very competitive, hard fought, you know, lots of good perimeter defense,
Mm-hmm.
lots of physical down low defense. And I remember praising Makai Mitchell for bumping with that guy. And even Lawson bumped with him. And maybe it's that we're better against a team that tries to uh, highlight or run their offense through a big man because Duke does that too. It's a different style of big man,
Yeah.
obviously. I mean, their big man is also their best shooter and stuff, but still, like the offenses there are trying
Yeah.
to
No,
set up, work the
that's for
ball,
sure.
and go.
That's for sure. I mean, good guards are killing us.
Well, that's what I mean. Like teams that put out fast, like all forwards and guards, just run past all our players.
Yeah. Yeah.
But maybe
All
we
right.
need teams with a big, slow, clunky big man, even though that's not what, Duke doesn't exactly have that, but they still have a big man that they try to run, they try to post up and run offense through. And I think that, I mean, maybe that's the reason the best thing for us might be if a team tries to set up, dump the ball down, and you know what I mean? Like, we
Yeah.
just don't want guys
Well,
playing
that's not what Kentucky's
dribble
gonna.
drive ball.
That's not what Kentucky's gonna try to do.
No. Yeah.
So, all right, man. Well, let's leave it there. We'll be back on the weekend after the Kentucky game to talk about that.
Yep.
All right, man. Have a good one.
This is the Arkansas Therapy Podcast.
It
So,
is at this point. All right,
well,
man. See ya.